want to talk about some great products of the past, what made them great, and then what caused the company that produced them to eventually fail. In this video, I'm going to start by talking about a British company, Psion, that for a decade were the world leader in palm-top computers. Psion started in 1980 by writing software and made a name for themselves with programs produced for the Sinclair range of computers in the early 1980s, including the ZX81 and Spectrum. But then Psion pivoted away from software to electronic products. How did this happen? Well, the story goes that Psion's founder, David Potter, and a few of his engineers were in a restaurant talking about the lack of portability of computers at that time, and they came up with a revolutionary concept, and that led to Psion switching its focus to the development of personal digital assistants, which resulted in the launch in 1984 of the Psion Organiser, the world's first handheld personal computer. The subsequent Psion Organiser 2 went on to sell 500,000 units in total. Then came other successes such as the iconic Series 3 and Series 5 palm-top computers, each selling millions worldwide. No progressive professional in the 1990s would be seen without a Psion. Psion designed both the operating system, the applications and the hardware, and this enabled them to produce a perfect marriage of the performance and efficiency in an elegant fashion. The Japanese have a term to describe a user experience that goes beyond the merely functional, and it's called joy of use, and this indeed applied to the Psion Series 5 and Series 3 palm-top computers. So let's take a brief look at these great products. Let me admit up front that I was one of the millions of passionate Psion users. I still have all my Psions and they're all working perfectly. First up is the Organiser 2. It's chunky, handheld and has a non-QWERTY keyboard. Don't knock that 4-line screen, it's double the height of the first Organiser. It became the first electronic personal organiser and spawned the term PDA. It was also popular in the retail and industrial sectors for data collection. It's got basic diary, notes, contact information, clock and a built-in programming language. Compared to the filofaxes and paper notebooks of the late 1980s, just holding this made you feel leading edge. But you needed to hold it tight, as dropping it risked knocking out the battery and losing all your data. Next up is this big boy, the Psion MC400 mobile computer. Unbelievably, this was Psion's next product after the Organiser 2. Psion developed new hardware, operating system, application software, case, screen and keyboard in one project and with a relatively small team and budget. The fact that you can run this on AA batteries is incredible, though you do need 8 of them. But the MC400 was not a commercial success due to high pricing and non-PC compatibility. But it was leading edge with touchpad control, GUI interface, multitasking. And remember, this was 1989. Microsoft Windows 3.0, the first commercially successful version, wasn't launched until 1990. Next up is the Psion 3A. It was effectively a handheld MC400. I used it extensively for the diary, contacts, spreadsheets and note-taking. Synchronizing files with a PC enabled you to work effectively on the road, but no email or internet. The screen's excellent and the design is iconic. The software came from the unsuccessful MC400 project, so that investment paid back in helping to make the Series 3 a stunning commercial success. And finally, here's the Series 5 MX, the pinnacle of Psion's PDAs. Again, this was a major project for Psion with new microchip architecture, 32-bit operating system, keyboard, screen and case. And there's a revelation when you open it to see that full travel touch-type capable keyboard with a clever hinge to keep it stable. This was a much more capable product than the 3, supporting a touchscreen and with email and internet support via a separate modem, though connectivity is limited in today's terms. The screen is dimmer than the 3 due to the touchscreen, and with hindsight, this was a poor trade-off for the reduced screen legibility. But Psion loved to innovate. It was in their DNA. You can write a book on the Series 5, and I have, hence its popularity with journalists. Its AA batteries allow productivity for days away from power sockets. The operating system Epoch went on to become Symbian and power hundreds of millions of mobile phones.
What the Psion Series 3 and 5 did so well was to enable productivity out of the office and make use of those many small portions of time in a day. Standing on the train, in a cab, in a queue, in a cafe, in a meeting. When booting up your 1990s era laptop took far too long. And Psion's design, interface and applications together provided a true joy of use and led to a passionate user following. Indeed, that passion still lingers on today on websites and forums, and Psion still sell well on eBay 16 years after they left the PDA market.
So the question we must ask is, if Psion was the market innovator with great products and such an enthusiastic and loyal customer base, why did it exit the PDA market in 2001? To explain how this happened, I want to step back and look at the Psion value proposition. Consider how well it met user requirements and how over time in the key late 1990s to early 2000s, a gap in value developed that Psion was unable to close. In that key period, Psion were hit by three major challenges. Firstly, user requirements were moving away from the Psion proposition. Secondly, Psion lost key competencies to respond in the way it had in the past. And thirdly, Psion's attempt to address these issues through partnership failed. Let's look at these three areas in more detail. Firstly, changes in customer and user needs.
If you look at the value elements of PDA, such as the Psion Series 5, looking at the key period of 1999 to 2001, we can use an approach such as the value table to look at the key elements of value that the Series 5 provided. So here you can see across the model of the value table, looking at form and function, quality, cost and so on, you can see the strengths as I've identified them for the Series 5. Then I've added the weaknesses that are starting to emerge in this period as customers are starting to look for a converged device bringing together a phone and a PDA, and corporate buyers are increasingly interested in the PDA as effectively as a mobile terminal to synchronize with data held in a PC. And lastly, you can see the competitors that are emerging on the scene, such as the Palm with its Palm Pilot, and then Nokia with its first of its communicator range, which was the first converged device and effectively the first smartphone.
In 1998, Psion set up Symbian with partners such as Nokia and Ericsson as a vehicle to exploit its Epoch operating system in mobile phones. As part of doing so, it transferred all its software development skills into Symbian. Unfortunately, this broke the powerful marriage that had existed between hardware and software development within Psion. Psion also lost their previous gung-ho spirit, or at least a little of it, and became fearful of Microsoft CE-based palm-top devices that were coming to the market. And also their founder, David Potter, had stepped back from day-to-day involvement in the business due to poor health. Psion's management reasoned that Microsoft's scale and the massive existing Windows user base would make them an unbeatable competitor in the consumer PDA market. Psion did, however, establish a major collaborative project with Motorola called Project Odin to develop a phone and web-integrated PDA. But disaster struck when Motorola pulled out of this in early 2001 due to their business problems, leaving Psion out of pocket with a massive hole in their product roadmap. Psion also had an existing rival in this space, Nokia of course, using the Symbian operating software. So Psion management decided to exit the consumer market for PDAs, focusing on its Symbian venture and buying into industrial mobile computing instead. Now with hindsight, Psion could have continued in the consumer PDA markets for a number of years, such as the passionate support of its users, and the Windows CE offering did not prove to be as compelling as Psion had feared. So what lessons can we learn from Psion's story? I've narrowed these down to 4 key points. Number 1, match value to user requirements. Number 2, maintain your core competencies. Thirdly, ensure effective execution. And fourth, retain and refresh passion and belief in the business. Let's look at each of these in more detail. Number one, it's key for product managers to regularly review the value match of their offerings with the wants and needs of customers and users, to find out how that value mix and weighting is changing, to identify unmet needs and thus to determine product enhancements that are required. Number two, management must understand the core competencies in their business that provide competitive difference and focus on maintaining them. For example, Psion should have maintained a core team of software and hardware skills in the same organisation. They should also have outsourced their manufacturing and distribution operations, just as Apple have done. This would have enabled management focus on product innovation and also given Psion global production and supply scale. Number three, however good the resources and strategies are in a business, without effective execution they have little value. Now, Psion's strategy did produce a converged device. A PDA with phone capabilities was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, they picked a partner with little cultural match with Psion, and they failed to have effective risk management and no plan B. And number four, lastly, a business needs to maintain its self-belief, its confidence and its passion. Whatever brought it success so far. Now, Psion lost a lot of that with the exit of its founder, an increased focus on the city and the loss of key innovators to the Symbian partnership. Unfortunately, that's the end of my story. The engineers and designers who worked at Psion to produce those fantastic products in that golden period of 15 years in the 1980s and 1990s should be proud of their achievements and their customers. We love them for it. But Psion is gone now, and we can only wonder what might have been.